Yo, what's up?
What's up, man? Where are you?
Feature. All right, cool.
Back a little bit. Where you at these days? San Fran?
I'm in the beautiful Palo
All right.
Alto, California, Silicon Valley.
Can't name a better place to be right now.
Right.
Awesome,
Yep,
man.
that's correct.
So put a little message in here. Feel free to drop live Q&A.
Angry Animal, shout out. Crypty Girl, shout out. Snow to Beach, what's up?
There.
TG Future, what's up?
Pin this, maybe. Huh?
Angry
Oh, really?
Animals from Dubai.
Oh, yeah.
Listen,
Make
yeah,
sure
listening
you're
in.
on.
And then you want to just run through like what this is about and what you're, what's the what's the weekly profit? What is this channel about? Right. Dubai. So, man,
You're in. Yeah.
y'all see and hear me?
Test.
Test,
All
test,
right.
1, 2, 3.
Cool. Yeah. So the weekly profit,
Okay, cool.
it really is. It's about showcasing really the entrepreneurial mindset.
Can we lack
lack-
profit in the
of course.
business? If we're zero revenue?
Profit can mean a variety of different things. That's really the point of this. It's like if you
Okay.
get information out of this and it turns into, a good business deal or tips we go over, obviously, starting your own startup and going venture funding. The whole idea is, profits more than just money and more about the mindset
Sure.
and what you're able to actually accomplish with the information you learn, because nothing is worth anything if you don't take action on it. So
100%. And that also leads to, that was actually one of the initial phrases or like slogan for Pulse was connect and profit. That was actually one of the early slogans, like the first year we
Nice.
launched. So
Yeah.
that was like in our,
Yeah.
like our pitch
yeah,
deck.
no, 100%.
Yeah.
For some background, obviously, networking brought me and Ricky together. We were at Web3, what was it like? I don't remember what the event was called, but Web3 event in Miami.
Yeah. It was during, was it during 3
Yeah, it
Plus?
was.
Or was it during Rolling Loud weekend? And I flew in an artist from Nashville. He performed, we rented out the space.
Yeah.
And we had like a Web3 panel.
That was,
yeah, that's
that
right.
was super cool. Now I'm curious. I think this would be fun, and we'll just kind of go back and forth a little bit. What was your first impression of me at that event?
Well, you held the camera and you were following around, a young crypto millionaire. So I guess I just figured you were a personal videographer for, was it Time? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and then, but my second impression, when we met for coffee in South Beach, where I was like, wow, I thought this guy was older.
I'm 20.
You're quite young. How old are you?
I was probably 21.
You're 22.
Yeah, I was 21.
22. I thought you were 27, 28, just based off of what you were doing, your hustle and just all the things you had going on. And then also just like how you conduct business, your follow-up, take notes during meetings. I mean, it was above where I was at 22.
Yeah.
That's
And
for
I
sure.
definitely want to dive in the stories we joked into that actual meeting. You were taking me through kind of like, and we can really start here. Obviously this is the venture you're currently on that you were mentioning, and you kind of got started really in media, like digital media production, at my understanding.
Yeah.
I definitely want to, where did that begin for you? Where did you take the first interest in, the power of like content? Because you were doing it so much early on. You had that ESPN thing. Yeah. I kind of want to roll through that.
Yeah. I mean, 2013 is when I filmed that pilot for ESPN. So it goes back 9 years. But when my brother started a digital media marketing company for celebrities, 2015 is where we saw the power of content. And, obviously there's, back in the day you created like a blog, you had a website. If you had a following on Facebook, you had a website that would drive traffic, because it's about monetizing your audience. You drive traffic from the Facebook page to a blog. So we had Kevin Hart's Facebook page, for example. We created him 22 million followers at the time, which now I'm sure he's like at 100. And we created a website for him, and we would write articles and we would post those articles on Facebook. Cause at the time you could post links, external links on Facebook, and he wouldn't, Zuckerberg wouldn't punish you for that. Now you get 1% of your audience when you post an external link, because it wants you to
Right.
stay on Facebook. So Zuck was realizing that all these celebrities were posting to drive traffic to their own websites, to serve their own ads and sell their own products. And so, I mean, Kevin Hart and Waka Flocka and Paris Hilton, they were all doing 100, 200 grand a month in profit from creating their own micro vlogs. And so my job was to supplement the articles that they were writing, because not everyone likes to read articles. They were kind of spammy slash like clickbaity articles. My job was to come in and shoot the real content, the BTS, follow Kevin Hart around, get kind of more of the candid moments, and supplement the busyness of the feed with like real stuff. So they'd be like, okay, this is really Kevin's page. Because a lot of people would make the celebrity kind of disconnect from the page and just post spam stuff. You notice some accounts like Lil Bow Wow, he just posts like spam stuff. There's just some accounts that they just don't care. But we wanted to obviously have that personal touch and relationship with the celebrity. And so that's where I came in and created the content. And then I would hire out a team to, go film, so I was kind of more of a content producer, director. And then, yeah, just executed on all of our accounts. And then that led me to tech. I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer transition when it comes to just knowing that all of this work that I was doing, we were networking through our phone. We weren't using LinkedIn and we weren't using a business card. It was just like, hey, what's your Instagram or what's your contact info? So, I mean, it was like, how do we not have a better system to connect everybody digitally where it's truly like the pulse of it all, right? And that's kind of like where the name comes in, is to really have a pulse
Yeah,
in the
no,
network.
100%. And that really
Yeah.
generating, kind of going back. Yeah, that was where you kind of came up to me and showed me this, connected on here, and the name really stand out because it makes sense. It was like, this is a kind of the heartbeat of the network. Like, this is getting able to actually, I also like the feature where
Yep.
you can see, where you made that connection. And then to my understanding, it stays that way. So like after if you go to a new city, you can see, oh, I have XYZ connection in this city.
Yep.
And like, you can really connect on.
Yeah. We want to automate that process more. Like I've always had the idea of like, whether it's like you sync your Delta app or Southwest or probably just location. And when you land in a new city, it would just automatically tell you like, hey, you have 4 friends, or, Jackson, Miami, while you're in Miami, you should schedule coffee. So we want to create a system where we can just give you all the tools to never forget a connection again, never miss an opportunity again. I mean, we just want to help you
Yeah,
optimize
no,
your network.
100%. And where was I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit. When did you first initially see the gap in the market that made you start thinking, okay, I need to start building an app around this concept?
Yeah. 2017, I was in an Uber, and I was still at the time, I was following around. I was like creating a content for like this multi-millionaire. We were traveling all over the world, and I kept meeting, people on the street, because people would come up to me because I had a camera and I was following people. Right. And so like rappers or other business people, because we were at we went to the Aston Martin factory. And, I had some people come up to me then, just like, hey, what are you doing? And can I use you for my stuff? Right. So through film, through my craft, I met other people, right? That gave me the opportunity. But I was seeing the whole, which was, hey, can I have can I have your phone number? And then they would ask, well, could I have your YouTube and like all of your links? So this was before, I think, Linktree. I'm not sure if it was out yet, but that's where the aha moment of, we need to be able to share all of our links in one place, right? 2017. That was when I was officially asked by the Uber driver in DC, where he was like, oh man, I really want you to shoot my music video. So he gets my number, and then he's like, hey, do you have your YouTube and your Instagram? And I'm like, hey man, why don't I just like send you all the stuff in one place? So that birthed the first feature, which was the QR code exchange, right? That's the first feature in the app is immediately send all your info in one place. But then it's like, once that person has my info, do I trust him to follow up? Do I trust him to reach back out to me? Or do I take matters into my own hands and provide context for that connection? So therefore, I'd have to put context to it, geolocation, notes, tags. And so that's what births the organizational part of Pulse, which is like the tagging system and notes, right? And geotag. And then the, last but not least is following up, right? Because I'm an expert follow up person. Because I want to, and you are too, because we genuinely want to move the needle, right, in relationships. But if it doesn't come natural to you, you might need a tool like that or something to help you automate that, which we're looking into even more within the tech. But so that's kind of, those were the holes I saw, was connecting instantly with other people, like easily exchange information, remembering people you meet and keeping it organized, and then following up and messaging them back and keeping like a mini drip campaign, because they might not respond right away. They might reschedule and you'll have to keep messaging them. So not to go down the rabbit hole, but I really think of Pulse as like you're planting or you're making a garden, because when you connect with people, you're planting that seed. And then when you organize your contacts, you're providing the seeds with great soil because it's easily managed. And then when you water the plants or water the seeds, like you follow up and nurture the relationship, it grows into this beautiful garden of contacts. Right. And then some plants will die off. Some people will die off in your network, but you can keep planting more and you can manage this incredible garden of people. And, there's many fruit and vegetables that can grow in that garden, and you can sustain yourself forever. So, and that's what I saw in life when traveling and, going abroad in college and just meeting all these incredible people, that if you have a network, that's why we say our network is our net worth. Because, or people say, show me your friends, show you your future. Like the people that are in your ecosystem are what kind of like whatever value you can extract out of it. So I don't know, it's powerful. And again, it all comes down to not using people. It's utilizing, right? It's mutual benefit. It's how can we all help each other? It's not just take, right? Part of that whole ecosystem is, what did you do in order to get a tree to grow? You planted it, you nourished it, you did work, so you reap the
Yeah.
rewards, you reap what you
No,
sow.
I love that. And I was curious,
Yeah.
speaking of kind of that network, obviously pre-Pulse, who were those first few people for you that, maybe gave you the, just continue to keep that belief that, this was definitely something that could be possible.
Well, one of them's in this channel, Crypty Girl. Shout out Crypty Girl from way back 2020. I think even 2019. Yeah, 2020, when we had our first MVP. She was actually one of the first groups of people I showed the app to. I actually showed her the app before it was even made. It was a demo video. So shout out to Crypty watching this. And then also my parents, I credit my parents. They're the ultimate supporters. I think it's really important that, at least if you don't have parents that support you, to have somebody. At the end of the day, it does have to come from within and conviction, but it sure helps to have some close people around you to just at least support you and tell you to keep going. I think for me, it was all, I would attribute it to whatever you consider like God or truth or the source, but I would say it was God given to me. I feel like it really wasn't a selfish motive where I was like, I want to build an app. It was like, this seems like a useful tool and it's a problem that I think should be solved. And I don't know, I just felt called to do it. Because I'm not technical. I wasn't trying to build apps. I was in the media world. I love, trust me, like there's a lot of times where I'm watching like a stand-up comic or, a movie, and I'm like, man, I want to act, I want to be in that. I want to entertain people. And I try to do that in my everyday life just to have fun, just to kind of get that fulfillment. But, at the end of the day, like, I feel like there's just a greater purpose for why I'm building Pulse, and I'm just listening to that. And that's it. Like, that's my direction. And some people might call it like your spiritual intuition. And I just keep following that.
Yeah.
and
I've
see where it
interviewed
takes
a
me.
lot of successful founders on here, and a lot of people that are in startup mode. They're at all different levels of entrepreneurship. And it seems to be a common theme. Like entrepreneurship more or less chose them, not so much, they chose, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur and,
Right.
do everything else I'm doing. So
Right.
that's definitely super cool. Cause like, I like to say like, I'm an addicted problem. We're addicted to problem solving. So you're constantly thinking of
Yeah.
ways, how can we improve
Right.
this? And, taking a look at your network. What kind of problems are they having? It's a unique trait. That's like, it's very hard to teach. Because yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. And I will say though, I wasn't addicted to the business side of it. I'm not the strongest at operating the business side of it, but after 4 years into this, I'm learning you need a team. You cannot do this alone. You can't even just contract people. Like you need to find people who are willing to sweat for your dream and mission, whether they're investing, like I said, sweating into it. So not investment, but time and effort. And you just need more buy-in than just yourself. And then you have a team that can complement you. And that's, I think that's the single most important thing before you can even move forward is having a grounded team with the right foundation, because then that attracts the right investors. It attracts the right customers because it'll reflect in your brand and how you run your company. And I'm just scratching the surface on all of that. So, it's been a long 4 years. I think it's just because, obviously the pandemic like crushed us because we launched in 2020 a networking app to connect with people in real life at events. And none of that could even like happen. It was almost like against the law. So we had to not just pivot, but I think it did give me some time to work out some other personal things in my life that I was working on. So I don't like regret any of it. I think the pandemic happened how it happened, and here we are. And honestly, I think it's more beautiful timing that we have like a version that we're proud of, right? And we're launching in a time where connection, I think, is more sought after than ever before because of that dry spell that we
Yeah,
had
no,
during the
100%.
pandemic. So people want to connect. They want to, they want in-person events. So yeah, we're excited about
Yeah,
this
no,
year and our
100%.
launch.
And, another kind of avenue I kind of want to go here, really the idea behind Pulse. Obviously, you had that huge pandemic, pull it into, you see the opportunity that connections just valued so much more now, but also the case of there's more content out than there ever has been. Like more people that are, the abilities of, being independent and starting kind of your own venture. But I am curious, tying it into like, you've had 4 years to kind of learn the hard way or whatnot. Is there anything that
Yeah.
this year that you think if you had implemented it maybe a year earlier, you would have known a little sooner that could have, potentially catapulted you a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I would say my routine of my health. I think even in the last 30, I think it's 34 days of just literally the strictest but most liberating routine I've ever been on, and being at the gym every single day and making that a part of my everyday life. I've dropped 17 pounds, obviously like no alcohol, clean food, getting rest. It's just, I'm just performing at such an optimal level. And I really do wish I did that 4 years ago. I think I would have had some exponential growth. So I'm seeing a lot of that growth now. And just your frequency is raised when you're taking care of your body and your mind, obviously. And, other people see that, and it allows you to move things forward a lot quicker. And when you're obeying truth, like when you're obeying your truth of who you should actually be, it's just exponential growth. Like it's so fast, and like you get exactly what you desire. We just got accepted into like this accelerator program in LA, and it's a VC firm, and they want to make us their portfolio company. They literally see that we have the potential to be a
Yeah.
unicorn. That's what that means. And so that all happened in 3 weeks. It's crazy that, so imagine what's going to happen in 60 days and 90 days and 120 days. And yeah, so it's just, I'm super grateful for doing it now, but that is the one thing I would have, if I just knew it back. I did know it, I just didn't do it. 4 years ago was your taking care of yourself is number one. Mental, physical, spiritual. All those three things, I like if I could say that to anybody, start with that. Don't worry about chasing the money. Don't worry about finding out the right position or role or anything. If you take care of yourself, you will have the right answers because you're in your best state to think and make decisions. And then when you interact with people, they're attracted to that energy and then you attract the right people. But if you're meeting people in nightclubs, you're probably not going to find the right people, if that's where you're looking. So,
Yeah, no,
that's just
100%. I
my
love that you
experience.
touched on that because a lot of people they have these great ideas and like the idea goes absolutely nowhere because, like you said, they're just focused on the money. They're just focused on, they could be focused on the impact, but they're not even living the actual impact that they're trying to portray. And at the end of the day, as you know, and the other entrepreneurs in here, like people buy from people. So, you can have plenty of conversations where, the idea is not even the basis of that conversation, but it naturally comes up because you start kind of thinking along
Right.
similar lines and you start to attract kind of the right opportunities into what you're doing. Now, the biggest limiting
Yep.
factor for you to actually take the leap and get this thing rolling, can you take me through that a little bit?
Biggest. I mean, besides myself and my own limits, there really are no limits when you start to understand, metaphysics, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. But I would say in in this world that we live in, the limits can seem to be the financial limits, like resources, and then also yourself. Like those are the two biggest ones is you thinking that you need money to get started or to do something. Money is just one source of fuel. It's not the only fuel, it's financial energy. But there's other things that have value that you can use and trade to get what you want. I mean, that's literally the whole point about Pulse is cultivating relationships that bring you value that aren't about money, right? If I'm a videographer and I'm friends with a photographer, we can open up a videography and photography business, right? That's just one example. So I started to get creative on using my talents and my skill sets and my trades to level up, right? I mean, I speak almost three languages. I've traveled all over the world. I have people skills. So what's the first thing I could do is I need to meet more people and build a team. I'm going to call on past friendships to help me, collaborate or give value to Pulse and help build the company, literally help build my app. Like the company that built my app now are my longtime 15-year long friends. So it's leveraging the relationships that I had that I built for so long. Yeah, but that's what I would say as far as the limiting factor would be just don't get caught up on
Yeah.
needing money to start. It's not true. You don't, that's just the money and the money just comes when you produce quality,
Yeah, I was just having this
So
conversation, a very similar
it
conversation with
comes.
one of my good friends yesterday. And, like obviously works a good, full-time job, but he's like, I know I can create my own kind of wealth. And he was like, just kind of picking my brain about that. It really opened my eyes. To that. Like, a lot of people, they want to start a business because the way business, and I'm not sure if this was your experience, you mentioned college a little bit, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But my experience was, oh, you want to start a business, and you have to have people on $40,000 a year payroll, and you've got to have like an office space, you have to be, and then you can
Yeah.
launch. And it's just totally not true. Yeah,
No, launching a business is just providing value where someone's going to pay you for it. That's a one-to-one transaction. An operation like that is just scaling, right? But one-to-one is just providing value. If you have a cookie and somebody buys it, you can start a business, right? You make a dozen cookies and 12 people buy it and you scale that. That's what that big operation that you're talking about is. But at the end of the day, it's just finding one person that believes in your product and wants to buy it and seeing if you can get 100 and then 1,000 and then 1,000,000. I mean, that's kind of where our scale is. So right now we found almost 3,000 people have downloaded and used Pulse. Now we're in our price discovery phase because we're about to launch Pulse Pro, which people would pay for. And then we'll really know, is Pulse worth paying for? or do we keep it free and then we just launch it to like as a social network, so to speak, and then eventually we can monetize the data, right? Obviously through like strategic advertising or people maybe pay to keep their data secure. There's definitely multiple paths to go, but right now at least we're seeing that almost 3,000 monthly active people use our
Yeah, no, that's
products, which
awesome.
is
And
great.
like exchanging value, right? Like value can come from a variety of different ways. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you can have a product based around that, but also just showcasing your expertise. I always tell people like the reason you see these influencers that do so well, it's like part of that kind of comes down to, and I just recently realized this, part of that comes down to they're providing value every single day. So they're showcasing their expertise. That's their value point. Like, hey, here's what I did and how I did it. And basically like giving it away for free. And
Right.
then naturally, like you said, like the universe starts to reward those types of things. So everyone's like, oh, it's like so easy to do social media. And like reality, it's not. But at the same time, on a simple basis, these people are so successful because they're just consistently bringing value. And it's allowed us this opportunity to do that like very easily versus always just making a product trying to see if people buy it. Really just, your expertise can dive into
Totally.
that.
Totally.
Now, college little bit. Can you talk to me about kind of what your college experience was and, maybe some misconceptions people make? Because I've got my audience is obviously more 18, 25,
Yeah.
debating whether it's even worth it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, college, if you're I didn't go for a specialty. I'm not a doctor or a mechanic or, a pilot. I didn't go to a specialty school. I went because my school offered abroad so I could travel around the world and study. So I want because I love people. I was a sociology major. So I like to figure out why people are the way they are, sort of like there's more people and culture. So I would travel to like Brazil or Guatemala or China or Australia or the UK. I've been, quite a many places and all in school. So most of my time, honestly, was spent abroad, but I chose that specifically because I knew that my school, small liberal arts college, on a major college called Principia. It's in the St. Louis area, St. Louis and Illinois and Missouri border. So it's actually in Elsa, Illinois on a hill, but I say St. Louis because that's the best way for people to remember. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think school could still be valuable if you go to a university to just kind of learn how to make friends. I think there is a social aspect to college that it could provide. It puts young people around each other and like-minded people around each other. And I don't think you should discredit school because if you just go on YouTube and you learn how to do something, that's great. But how do you interact? How do you socialize? How do you like build relationships? I think school does allow you to do that. It allows you to play intramural soccer and like have fun. Like that is part of that experience. And I mean, that's what I try to do is I try to talk to as many people as possible, have those like late night conversations. It just depends. It depends on who you are, but I definitely would say it's not done yet. It shouldn't be extinguished. I think like school does still have a purpose. You just got to figure out what part
Yeah.
of it you want
I know,
to
and I like how you mentioned,
utilize.
sociology major. You didn't let the fact that like you didn't go to school for business to affect whether you were going to launch a business. Were you
Yeah,
thinking
no,
along the business line? Yeah,
should have helped. I did. I was a business major for like 3 days. And then I was just like, it's just like, I feel like I'd rather just learn this by doing. I know I wouldn't be able to contribute much to the classroom. It just didn't feel right. So I switched it to sociology. I was math comm, but it was the same thing. Like I was learning all those things through, I mean, I was in film production before college. So like I knew the tangible things. So I guess I just wanted to step outside my comfort zone, which would have been business, but also sociology. So, but I'm glad
yeah,
I
no,
stayed with
100%.
sociology.
And now, we'll really start to get into, the reality of launching an app. Like what was that? What
Sure.
was the first step? And maybe even to specify it a little bit more. I'm sure you made a few like bumps along the road. What would you say was like the first right step in your opinion to getting this thing off the ground?
First right step, and I just was looking over my notes and my like screenshots in my phone, was the idea that you have in your head, write it down in full to completion. So in the app that I dreamed of, I literally found screenshots and I like hacked it. I like copy and pasted a phone screen and then copy and pasted a Google map and put it on the phone screen. I mean, it was the ugliest presentation ever, but I put together in a deck so I could organize my thoughts. And then I saw it on paper. And then I knew it in my head so much that when literally 4 weeks later at this summer camp, I was on my way to a summer camp, but I did it the night before I like, before the summer camp was like no phones, no technology. Like you kind of got to lock everything away for the summer. And I was going to be a counselor. So I wrote it the night before while I still had my stuff. And then literally like out near the end of the summer, there's like this family camp and this lady, this mom that, you know, had her kids come to the camp was asking me like, what do I do? Like, what am I, you know, working on? I said, you know, it's funny. I just feel like I need to, well, cause I had just written down that idea. I closed down my video production, you know, stuff for a while in LA. And I was like, you know, I have this app idea. I think I want to pursue it. And so she was like, I told her about it and she was obviously like, hey, like I would like to invest. And I was like, I mean, I knew nothing about any of it, guys. I mean, it was just like, I didn't even know I needed an investor. I was just going to try to find a technical guy and he could build it. But that route, it definitely, well, so one, talk about your idea, right? Like literally talk about your idea to everyone and everyone, because there will be somebody, Ricky, when are you going to sponsor the podcast? Whenever you want me to, man, just let me know. I'm down. I'll fly to New York for you. We'll do it at a Giants game or a Knicks game or whoever you root for. So yeah, I think the first step is write it down, talk about it. Write it down, talk about it. Now it was 2 years until she actually wired me money. So from 2017 to 2019, you know, I moved back to Tampa. I did start a video production business. It just didn't feel like the right time to start that idea, but I was working on it. I worked on designs. I found a designer. He designed the whole app. So I still was working on it. I just didn't have any operating capital. And then 2019 wired me 50 grand into my Chase account and I was off to the races. And I've built that 50K into, you know, I used that up probably in the next 8 months for resources, raised another 150K, built the next version. So we had two versions by then. And then we raised another 500,000. And then we built the next version. And now we're raising, you know, 1.5 to 2 million. And we'll just improve upon this version, keep iterating. But, you know, throw a pandemic and a divorce in there. That's why you have 4 years. You know, that's why it took from 2019 to 2023. But, you know, I'm right now, I'm in the best place I've ever been, just mentally, physically, spiritually. So I don't even care about like if I regret anything because I'm where I'm at. I'm where I'm supposed to be right now, you know, and I'm doing exactly what I should be doing right now. And I'm just extremely confident and convicted in the idea and the mission. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for bringing me
No,
on and letting me
100%.
share.
We'll, you know, we'll wrap it up pretty soon, but yeah, that's super important. And, you know, more now getting into more specifics, you know, when you're going, you got that first, okay, right? Now, for those out there, what is the process of actually going about getting venture?
Yeah. Bogdan knows this one. This guy, Boggs from CEO Baruch College, he actually had me over in New York and I spoke on how to build a technical company as a non-technical founder. So that's kind of funny that he dropped in during that time. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to go to events like trade shows, conferences. You know, you got to seek talent. You know, you can't build a company from your house. I didn't, I mean, in 2019, I still don't think LinkedIn was as powerful as obviously it is now. And so I wasn't recruiting online. I was like, if I'm going to meet people and I'm going to bring them on, I'm going to meet them in real life. So all the people that I met that helped build the app, actually, except one person was actually LinkedIn. She was like a LinkedIn influencer and she owned this agency. And I reached out to her. Then I flew out to LA and then I met her development team. And then through that, they helped build our next version. So, I mean, it's like a treasure hunt, you know, like you have to go out, except you don't have the map. I mean, there's definitely no map with directions. It's like a mapless treasure hunt, but you do have to just keep exploring. You know, you have to go places. I think the biggest thing, honestly, that I'm learning is like go outside, like get out of your house, get out of your office, go meet people, because I feel like you can only do so much with the internet. The internet doesn't, I don't think, can't take you as far as I feel like when there's two people in the same physical location. There's something about that energy. Even our interview in person would be so, I just think would be 10 times, I don't want to say better, but just different. Right. So that's what I suggest is like, and that is what Pulse is all about, is we want to encourage and still enhance in-person connections. Like we want people to still like reconnect in fucking human life and humanity. Like every time we're inside and on the internet and we're connecting through that, it's just there's just an element that still isn't ever penetrated, you could say, or there's something missing. There's still something missing with me and you right now. I can hear you, I can see you, but you're not here. Like, what is up with that? You know, that is what's missing. That's a fact. And so people to say that Zoom completes the job or working from home completes the job, I don't buy that. I think if you look at the three necessities, and this is how I sell Pulse to people too. If you look at the three necessities of life, literally of life, what do you need? That Porsche is about to hit someone. All right, I'm good. What do you need to survive? Food and water. So sustenance, right? You need that. You can't, no one's demonstrated above that. The next one is you need some sort of shelter to sleep and cover yourself. So that's like real estate, right? That's the industry. It, provides shelter. The food and water is any food company or water bottle company, right? Or water company. Like those are businesses that will always stand the test of time, right? Those industries. The third one is human connection. We need human connection to survive. You literally need two people to procreate, to extend our humanity. We need to be together. We need to have interaction and hugs and intimacy and laughter, physical energy in the same place. That's what I want Pulse to be about, is getting people together and then connecting though, and taking that energy that happens at a dinner or a conference or a music festival or on an airplane or a train. Extract that energy, save it though. Save it in your contacts and don't ever forget it. And then follow up with that energy to produce some fucking incredible shit. That's it. That's Pulse. So I'm sorry I got on a tangent there, but I'm just so passionate about that's the root of it, man. You got me to the fundamental, and I got to keep remembering that because that is what Pulse is all about.
Taking those, and it's like, taking those small steps, stacking those small wins. And, as you really hit it right on the nose, as far as like, people definitely have this misconception about going after and getting venture capital and all these things. And really it just ties back to what we talked about at the beginning, where it's like, once you prove to yourself you can do it once, you can definitely go do it again. And that process works for you. And then you understand like, oh, these in-person meetings where, people are feeling exactly how I am about this.
And let's give a testimony to all of the biggest benchmarks that have happened was because of in-person connections. Met you in real life, right? Expert Dojo, the program I'm entering, I threw an event at their venue, met their venture capitalists. They came to my event. The rest is history. One of my investors that invested, Bianca, she invested over $85,000 in the business. I met her at an event. I was filming for a cryptocurrency documentary at the time, and she showed up and we connected, right? And we connected on Pulse actually. And then, so literally Pulse, the app, is helping me build Pulse.
No, that's awesome. And now just to get into a little bit more mindset stuff, we'll really wrap it up. I am curious, what's been as part of this whole process, this whole journey, what's been the most important thing you've had to unlearn as far as that goes?
That's a good one. Wow. Well, there's definitely not just one, but what's the on see, man. Wow, man, that's a big one, man. I'm thinking of just a lot of been a big month of growth. What's one thing I've had to unlearn? I think, man, I want to talk about like when like there's certain things you rush and just take massive action in. Like there's just some things you say yes to. When it comes to bringing people to your team, it needs to be, I think a lot of people say like hire fast, fire fast. I mean, maybe at like another level, but we're talking about I'm bringing together like the foundation of the executive team. So these are the people that will be with you for the rest of your life, supposedly. It's a marriage. And so treat it like such and pray on it and don't rush it. And I think I'm used to just going and rushing and just taking massive action and saying yes to many other things because that's the only reason I got to this gym is I signed up right away. I took massive action. I went to the gym. Every time I wake up, I go, stuff like that. But I think with people, I had to unlearn to jump into relationships, especially business ones. And that's probably one of the biggest things you could learn because they're going to be at every step of the way, investor calls. And I mean, when money's involved, they represent your company. And it's the second most important thing outside your marriages and relationship and family is your business team. So don't rush it. Ask many questions. Take your time. Don't feel like you're interrogating them. Well, you have every right to ask questions and they have every right to ask you questions. And if they don't respect that,
Okay,
then
cool.
they're not the right
So
team.
yeah, that
So that's the one thing I've had to unlearn is to not just not rush the process with
yeah,
securing your
cool.
core team.
Now just piggyback off that, there's a lot of young, hungry, upcoming entrepreneurs. They want to be part of something that's growing. I hope, obviously this podcast is going to get out, Instagram, YouTube,
Yeah.
Spotify, the whole deal. I'm curious, like, what are the qualities you're looking for in people to help you build this right now?
I think for Pulse, it's if you take a sincere interest in people, because I think of like people who are going to represent Pulse, like market it. I guess there's different types of roles. There's people who are engineers who honestly they're engineers and they might never actually even be a Pulse user, which I had to get over. I thought every single person in my company was going to be a Pulse user, but man, engineers are who they are and they're good at what they do. They don't need to be social. And so, I always thought, oh man, they have to know it in and out and they have to be a Pulse user. So in terms of Jack,
Like,
what do you mean? Like
personality?
which,
What
like
personality
which,
traits are you looking for? Like, somebody who
because
should, obviously you want them to be bought into the company. And we totally get that. But like,
yeah,
you only want to work with, certain, like, what are the qualities that, and this could go for any time you're networking, you know?
it's just, yeah, because I'm just learning that just different roles have different personalities, and so I guess it just depends on like what department. Cause like I said, the engineering side, I thought I would want an outgoing person. They're not outgoing people, right? But they're hella good engineers. So I think what I'm wanting now though, I guess what I'm needing now is sales and marketing people, right? So people who are honestly a reflection of me because that's what I would be doing if I wasn't like having to run the company is I would probably be in the sales and marketing, which I'm doing right now regardless. But people who just take a sincere interest in other people. I mean, to be honest, I always feel like a Pulse, if you're a Pulse user, you're qualified to work at Pulse. That's really it. Like if you, as far as non-engineering, okay, those guys are special groups. But if you're a Pulse user and you connect and you could you could definitely be some sort of contributor to Pulse. However, that might not necessarily be true as I'm saying it, because if you're a Pulse user, you're probably a very independent thinker and entrepreneur, and you want to build your own life and your own business. But I still feel like there could totally be a place for you early on, as you build your network. Because one of the cultures that I want to actually cultivate and bring into Pulse is to be able to support people's ideas and missions, even though it's not like, if they see that Pulse is just a temporary transition, like I want to be able to provide an atmosphere where they love working at Pulse, but they're still able to be supported on like their own individual growth and ideas, you know? Because at the end of the day, like I don't know. I've never run a large, successful company, so I don't know what longevity looks like. A lot of people like to work for Gary Vee for very long, but I just sense that our culture and our society is evolving to where it just seems like a lot of people
Yeah.
just want to do their own stuff. So if I can provide a way for people to make money and make a living from working at Pulse, but them still being able to independently do certain
Yeah,
things,
no,
like that could be
100%.
coll too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I might eat
No,
all my
I
words.
mean,
Who
it's
knows?
pretty cool because, like I said, you can reality. I mean, in my opinion, I think exactly what you're looking for. You do want independent thinkers, but also people that are willing to learn. People that I think they should be. Anyone who's watching this and they just their ideas are flowing. Maybe they want to come reach out to you. It's like then be open about that from the beginning. Have
Yeah,
people
right,
lined up.
right.
And
Exactly.
on
If
your
they
end,
were like, hey, I'm
like
working on this.
asking those people that interview, okay, like realistically, what are your goals? Where do you actually want to be in 5 years? And how can Pulse help get
Yeah,
there, without completely intruding
yeah,
in a place where like you'll actually be 100% bought into this, for the longevity that we're really looking
sure.
for. Because I think having Pulse be the connection point that catapults that is still going to pay off huge for you guys in the long run. I mean, I think once people start, negotiating business deals on the app, or they start being like, oh, I met him on Pulse, like naturally that's going to start to, just compound interest, right? Like naturally, your app was the connection point to open this opportunity for somebody, and working at your company, following you around, going to these networking
Yeah,
events, they meet someone, and now that person's like, oh, you were working with
yeah.
Pulse, and that person, they're getting value out of the person you introduced them to. It's like they constantly want to help you. I see that in my space all the time.
I I will say one of the actual roles I need is like a 24/7 pretty much videographer. So we want someone to, capture all this content. I just can't do it myself. I'm trying to. I've started a vlog, but I'm really wanting to have someone else now video so we can upload those vlogs a lot faster and more efficiently. It's just the type of content I'm getting just doesn't, it's just not selfie mode anymore. Like I'm having two-way conversations with a lot of people. So I need an actual external camera guy. So if anybody's watching or listening and they want a
Yeah.
potential video job, hit me up. But that's like number one
Yeah.
hire right now
No,
is what
that's
we need.
definitely, that's a common thing all
So
around. I tell people all the time. Like you can learn how to, and it's kind of how you started, right? Like if you can learn how to, man a camera, everyone needs content for just about everything. It's kind of just the world we
yeah,
live in. So it's good you pointed that out. And a lot of people are like, oh, photographers don't make any money. I think the photographers and the videographers of the world are the ones that are going to be the millionaires, billionaires for the next 5 to 10 years, just because of the pure need for it. Everyone kind of needs it. You can do multiple things if you need to, but you can also, it's easy to teach. It's also easy to, get one videographer, there's two other interns that want to learn from them, and then like catapulting kind of off of that.
yeah. It's kind of actually what the tech world and everyone loved the engineers. The creative world needs the videographers, in my opinion. Those will
Cool,
be the
man.
ones that are successful.
Now, I am curious,
So
kind of our last, okay, I like to ask this question because I'm glad we hit this. What's one question you have for the host? Yeah.
dang, were you supposed to tell me this before or
I
no?
more or less, not usually. I usually like, that's honestly the point. Drop this, and then we end with like one more.
Hey,
So
I'm special.
first,
What's the
let's
question for the
from host.
hosts? Woo. Okay. Question for the host. What do you want to do with this podcast format? Like, where do you want this to grow into? What's your intention behind this? Not what it's about, but where do you see this going? Like, what do you ultimately want for this channel
Yeah, no,
or the weekly
ultimately,
process?
it's an extension of, it's always just been an extension of me. It's an extension of the personal brand. The goal is to put people, in like, ultimately, I just want to create a space where people start to look at podcasts a little bit differently and more as, like
Okay.
if you want to get in the room with high level people, hopefully, the podcast, I can create that space through the podcast. So when people watch it, like, okay, I'm in the room, Jack's, asking these questions that, could help me. And, I put other people in the room with these high level people that I'm so blessed to, be able to interview and have full on conversations. Because that's why I got started watching them. And I was like, you know what, you could, try to email these people, you could try to get them out for coffee, whatever you want. But if you just sit down and you watch a podcast of somebody you respect interviewing another person you respect, then, you get to just absorb all that knowledge and really take,
Yeah.
execute on what's said. So it's like, yeah, to prove the consistency, right? Prove that consistency compounds. I think that the name for me holds me accountable that I have to drop an episode every week. And I know I've simplified it to where, like people overcomplicate things all the time. It doesn't take a ton of, personally, it doesn't take a ton of time out of my life to sit down and have conversations that I know are moving forward and also moving other people forward. So yeah, I mean, the goal of the podcast, it's never been about, I don't think I'll ever even I may take, I'll never really take sponsors. I think I'll build other brands that naturally sponsor the show, or I'll help people build other brands. And this will be the platform for them. Like, hey, you may not have a podcast, but I'll sit down with you once a week and, you can save this content and I'll still drop it, because it allows me, I can drop an episode weekly. I can drop an episode daily. So it's really just to provide another platform, another resource for people that are connected to me to kind of just get better at whatever they're doing. It's really, there's no real business behind it
Nice.
other than it being an extension of what I'm already doing.
That's good. That's good. That's probably the best way to go about it. If you're actually just doing it to do it for yourself and it's fulfilling, you're on the right track then. Bonus question. What are you most excited about right now in just, the entrepreneurial business world? Like, what are you kind of geeking
I'm
out on? Anything?
definitely, oh, that's a good one.
Artificial
Yeah, I'm not
intelligence
even,
besides
you
AI.
know what I mean? I think, yeah, in my opinion on AI
Good.
is more just can do everything. If you don't know how to use it, it's not going to help you. But, I'd say what I'm most excited about. I think I'm most excited that more people are waking up to the opportunities that really are out there. We're seeing a lot more people not be afraid to take risks, not be afraid to at least start their new ideas. And like, you're seeing a lot. I think we're
Yeah.
starting to see a lot more people, like we talked about earlier, that aren't so just focused on the money, but starting to wake up to like, if they do something that's fulfilling, naturally everything starts to work out. So entrepreneurship wise, I think like I'm excited about content getting more and more, just getting more and more streamlined. More and more people are getting comfortable on camera. More and more people are being comfortable sharing their ideas and authenticity. Now that's the trend I'm seeing on YouTube. The best YouTubers are the most authentic people on camera. They're not trying to copy other people. They're not trying to do these things left and right. So it's opened the door for me to be like, okay, dude, just show the process. Just be like, okay, this is day this is day that. Here's what I'm actually doing. That resonates with people. The authenticity resonates with people. It's not like I'm not going to start because I don't have $100,000 camera and I don't have a full team behind me. It's like, no, just show that you're authentic and kind of start to observe everything that's kind of just coming into play after that. So yeah, I mean, most excited about entrepreneurial,
Right.
just
Right.
content creation and more like authenticity starting to win a lot more as more and more people just put out authentic content, I think. And content as a whole, I'm pretty excited to see where it goes. I put out a post today. I was like, one of the Phoenix Suns just decided, they're cutting all their ties with cable providers, put the games for free on streaming platforms. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, I
wait,
posted it on
what?
the profit or my personal.
I didn't, well, I didn't see that yet. So wait, the Phoenix Suns are going to let people
They're gonna
watch
put
their
it
games
on
for free?
public television. They noted like we're gonna start to use the platforms that are out there to put out our game.
that's not an NBA thing though.
I mean,
They can
but
choose
that's
to.
just what the owner, what the owner's quoted as saying.
That's
But on the other hand,
crazy.
if you go on
Whoa.
YouTube, you'll start to see comedians who would they spend all this money with Netflix to, adjust their show and make it politically correct and all this other bullshit. Right? Andrew Schultz,
Andrew
comes to
Schultz.
mind, right? He drops a free comedy special on YouTube, and he was open, like, "Hey, dude, my numbers 10x by going on YouTube, and the fact that it's out there all the time, and there's no expiration date, and I got 4 million views, and I sold all these tickets, to my show." And then I saw another comedian, Matt Rife, got on that platform too, where he just dropped his full special on YouTube rather than going through the typical like trying to get in with Netflix and whatnot. So yeah, it's like it's very
Yeah.
that part's really exciting. Like seeing that, people are taking advantage. Like, yo, I'm actually more people are watching YouTube, in my opinion, than they are watching regular TV. And regular TV is, they're just all they care about is money, and all they care about is being politically correct. YouTube, Rumble, the social platforms of the world, you can put your stuff out there and get, put links in your description, get people to purchase directly from there if it's about that for you. So yeah, just seeing open-endedness, people are more willing to break away from their norm. And, hopefully, I mean, I don't say hope, but like, hopefully everything else catches up and they start noticing like, okay, maybe we don't need to, charge $20 a month for people to watch content when all these creators have the choice to just drop this on the internet as long as they have the right support, behind it.
Right. Right.
Cool, man. And now my final question for you, typically it's just one I like to ask, ultimately we can phrase it as how do you want to be remembered, but also, if we're end of the line, what are you putting on your final tombstone as like your last message to the world?
Oh, wow. I wasn't going to have the tombstone. I was going to probably just be cremated and thrown into the ocean or the trees. But if I were to have one, it would be, I mean, man, you can't ask a sociology major this because we don't have one
Get into
answer.
it,
We
dude.
have so many
It's fine. Whatever
variations of
comes
it.
to mind. I always like to tell people, whatever your first instinct is, like whatever rabbit hole that takes you down, that's totally fine. Some people have phrased
Yeah.
this question as like one sentence, and I don't really believe in that, or like one word. And I'm like, I mean, ultimately, you got one last message to give to everybody to remember Ricky and remember Pulse and whatnot. Yeah.
I think, I think some of, it's funny is I've told some people this recently because I got roasted on a comedy show last week in front of 1,000 people. And, a lot of interesting people would show up to my funeral. Okay. A lot of people would say a lot of crazy stuff. A lot of people would say a lot of spiritual stuff. I mean, I've lived a very duality life. So, I think I'll just add both to it then. I think I'll just say that, Ricky, or like, I just want to be able to make people feel good about themselves when I leave them. Like, I just always want people to feel more uplifted. And this is what people have said about me or to me that like, when you leave a moment with Ricky, hopefully your life or your mental space is elevated, your energy is elevated. And that kind of just ties more into wanting to, I want to unite the world. I know it's like really fucking, everyone just thinks it's such a daunting task and it's like never going to happen. And there's, it's just inevitable. But that's just something that I just want to see. I want to be able to do. I want to, I want to be known for like facilitating and mediating like peace. Like we're talking at a massive level, like sitting down with, dictators and sitting down with like ISIS or sitting down with world leaders and coming to an agreement and compromise. Like that's actually what I really want to do. So, and then I guess the flip side would just making people laugh and making people feel good. I think that's what I've always been about. I've always been a people pleaser. I've always wanted everyone to like me. I know that's also like something that's impossible. You can't be everything to everyone, but I still see everyone as like my brothers and sisters. So, that'd be a whole paragraph, maybe a tombstone. You can scan a QR code and watch a video of what my last words would be, but or what I want people to remember me about. But actually, that's a solid idea. Maybe it's like a hologram or like an AR thing where you put glasses on and you can. Wow, that's a good idea, Jack. If you go to the funeral, like we could record like the eulogies or whatever from the person, ask that question, what do you want to be remembered about, and play that at the funeral in
That'd be
like
really cool.
holographic style.
Yeah, no, I love that. I've seen the
That's not a bad,
that too,
that's
where
pretty
they
good.
like they'll get their mother's voice or something on there. They'll get like the sound waves and they'll save
Oh,
it so you can hear the.
wow. That's
You haven't heard of that? I
shut.
worked with somebody who had one.
No,
Yeah, I worked.
I haven't heard of that.
They just like
That's
copy
no,
the audio wave,
that's cool.
scan it, and you can hear it. But yeah, whole gist of it,
That's really cool.
ultimately, leave people better than where you found them, and leave people better than when you met them. I think that's huge because
Yeah.
obviously, being a character and whatnot. And if everyone approached every conversation like that, you would see more win-win. We would see less tape. We would see less of this.
Yeah.
Like we would just we
Yeah.
stuck in kind of scenarios. And that's awesome. It comes back to
Yeah.
being with love. Okay. Like obviously you guys are connected. I always think like we connected for a reason. You've connected with everyone else in your life for a reason. They show up in your life for something. Why would you want to leave that negatively? And even if it starts negatively, you still should kind of go back and make sure, that you let, because you never know what people are going through and you never know what's actually happening. So it's like, if they
Right.
know they came to you and they got a laugh or they got this, they got that, they ultimately feel better because of that interaction. You're just going to start to see more success and you'll start to, grow your network
Right.
as that goes. But
Right.
yeah, man, I mean, we hit it
Right.
right on the nose, 63 minutes. So I'm sure you got your
Cool.
steps in today. So I'm glad
Awesome.
I contributed.
I got some more steps in. Yeah.
Can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yes, you
man. I'll
did.
definitely do it again in person. I'll be out to LA
Cool.
probably pretty soon. It's starting to become a common theme. But Equinox, yes.
Shout out Equinox.
Next time you're
Shout out
Miami, we'll
Equinox.
do some sort of vlog. I'm getting really big into that space. It's amazing having
do it.
conversations like this and getting
Okay.
like behind the scenes, like where are they going, what are they doing. So yeah, definitely look forward to chatting it up with you again. And anyone who
Cool.
watched, I can't thank you guys enough. And we'll see everyone next week. Peace.
Cool. Later.